But if you believe that, like you actually believe it, you will create that
Yeah,
every day,
that's true.
every day, and you will feel stuck. It's not because it's true, because you continue to perpetuate that negative belief that keeps you trapped. You basically are creating your own prison within your own psychology, your own psyche.
Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to another enlightening episode of Mirror Talk Soulful Conversations. I'm Tobi, and as always, it's my joy to share this space with you. Today, we are diving deep into life and relationship with someone very extraordinary. He's a best-selling author, a life and relationship coach with 3 decades of experiences. That's a lot. And he worked with over 6,000 clients. He appeared on HBO, E-Channel, K. Carl 9, and his wisdom has graced the pages of Psychology Today and Men's Health. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Ray Doktor. How are you
Oh,
doing?
awesome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode for Soulful Conversations. I'm really looking forward to speaking with you and learning so much from you, not only because of what you've achieved, but also because of what you've experienced in life, basically, that led you to who you are and what you are doing today. So I'm thrilled to have you here. But before we dive into the deep stuff that I would like to talk about and you have learned from me, basically, I would just love to know, like, this very week, this very day, this very week that we are recording, what brings you joy?
What brings me joy is the autumn leaves, like the change of the seasons, and the leaves I'm looking at right now are really beautiful. Like it's amazing. And one of the reasons why I like this time of year, not just because the color of the leaves, but for me, they represent kind of a time in where we let go of what we no longer need, that we let go of things that maybe happened this year that it was difficult and we're just ready to let it go and to start the new year. So for me, it's kind of like an invitation, like a rites of passage to kind of maybe work a little bit less, be connected with family and friends a little bit more, to soften our hearts and to integrate whatever happened this year that's positive for us.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. That's very deep and lovely. I mean, if you had said just the golden brownish color of the leaf makes this isn't
Yes.
beautiful, I said, oh, that's perfect. But you went very deep into, what's one thing I also believe, this season brings. That's about, wanting to connect with family, wanting to, foster those relationships that you have in your life. And that's something I also want us to talk more during this conversation. But your journey is very incredible, like I said, while introducing you, working with over 6,000 clients and sharing stages with legends like Marianne Wilson or Williamson, sorry, Eckhart Tolle. That's no small thing. That's like it's no small feat at all, I would say. But can you tell us what's, if we could take us back to the beginning, like, can you tell us how it all began? What's inspired you to embark on this path? What's got you interested in consciousness and spirituality?
Well, I mentioned in my book, All It Takes Is One, where I had, and I'll just show the book here.
Yeah.
It's always, I have to remember to do that. This is a funny experience with this photo shoot, which if you want to ask me about later on, because it's pretty funny. But anyway, um, is that I had 2 near-death experiences, and I came back. Obviously, I'm here. I hope I'm here.
I hope so
And
too.
let's just say I crossed through the veil, of the afterlife, whether you want to call it heaven or source energy. And from that, I no longer had death anxiety, but I also knew that there was so much more to this flesh and bones. Okay. And so early on, when I was 16 years old, I continued to understand this a little bit more, but I was still like every other teenage male out there trying to hook up with women. I was also partying and all of those things. But there's also a part of me that was more aware of that there's much more to this planet. But and as time moved on, I did get arrested for drinking and driving. And when that happened, the counselor, Jim, said to me, I don't know if you have a drinking problem, but you create a lot of problems when you drink. And that hit home for me because I didn't see myself as an alcoholic because I wasn't drinking every day. But, I would drink a little bit, and that's when I'd get in an argument with my girlfriend. To whatever's there I was pushing down was being covered by when I was partying. And so I started seeing a therapist, and that kind of launched me into even going deeper. And to fast forward, I ended up meeting a gentleman named Dr. Morse Netherton, who his name is incredible, and who he worked with is a whole nother level, meaning he comes from the background of the co-founders of psychology, such as Fritz Perls and Carl Rogers. And he also trained Tony Robbins teachers in the early 70s. And he took me under his wing as an apprentice, and we traveled the world. And that was in my 27, 28 years old. And just life continued to kind of unfold to move me in this direction. And, I love to light people up. I love to give people the tools to help them experience a better life and better and richer relationships. And I know this too, a lot of people are not in service, meaning that they might be an accountant or they don't see how their work directly impacts another human being. But when you are doing something that you love to do, and when you do that thing, it helps up level other people, there's just this amazing exchange of energy, because we're raising the consciousness of humanity. And I think at the core, we're all here to serve, and we're stewards to planet Earth. And this means protecting the environment, the animals, the air and everything else. And so what better way to say, work with people doing something I love, to be uplifting humanity, and, to be able to just feel useful and needed and loved, in this experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, we are all on this planet Earth to serve, and what's the better thing to do than to, uplift humanity, uplift,
Yes.
the vibration that we have on this earth. Yes. And
Yes.
I love that, because you took what you experienced in your past, the negative experiences and everything that you are pushing down or suppressing before the therapy. You're using all of that now to help people out there, to become a better version of themselves. And, talking about pushing things down, like, it just made me remember, while preparing for this conversation, I read that, you experienced a lot of things in your early childhood days that led to deep insecurity, depression, and suicidal thoughts. So I was like, oh, maybe this is what you're talking about, all those experiences of racism and, just not being satisfied with how one looks physically. I don't know. I think, is it not Kameto, but this web tour or something like that you had when you were growing up, and that led to, you not being comfortable with how you looked physically also. So at this part of, we'd like to talk about this experience and how therapy has helped you to, overcome depression, insecurity, and suicidal thoughts.
Well, did you ask the question, how did I overcome depression? Or are you asking how do I do that with others, or both?
I would like to know how therapy helped you to do that here.
Okay. So first up, I want to share a little story, because I just worked with a male client before this call, about 30 minutes before this call, and he was lit up. And I'm going to bring this up because it has a connection to me. And probably one of the reasons why I love to mentor younger men is because I once was a younger man going through these challenges. And so for him, he's on the shorter side, say 5'6", not super short, but definitely probably compared to most men on the shorter side. So that had been an issue for him too. He maybe lacked experience being with women. 2, 3, he would ejaculate too quickly. And so when he came to me, it was, I'm too short. I don't like the way I look, basically. I'm not confident. And when it comes to my sexuality, I can't even control myself. So what woman would want to be with me? What woman would want to be with this? Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I had felt that way. And what I mean by that is whether it was because I wasn't making a bunch of money, or I was comparing myself to the other teenager who had the nice mini truck or something. Many of us will compare ourselves when we're younger to other people. I mean, we still do it as adults. And what ends up happening in that experience is that we're separate from God. In other words, we're saying that who we are, what we are to become, and our worthiness is by doing what that other person's doing. Or my life will be so much better if I get that beautiful woman over there. Or I finally get respect when my dad says sorry, or that I end up developing 100,000 followers on Instagram. So most people externalized, this idea that who they are is outside of themselves. And because that's not true or sustainable, it could lead to depression because none of that works. And if you're not getting that, you end up imploding, going in and having this story of as if like, I'm not lovable, I'm not worthy. And what ends up happening is that energy will repel people too as well. Like, meaning you don't get the girl because it's not because it's your thoughts that like you're not worthy. It's that because you feel unworthy, the woman feels your lack of confidence and it's a turnoff. You don't get the job to make money because you don't feel good enough. And so when they're interviewing you, they don't feel confidence in you. And so how I worked on myself was going in and recognizing those inner thoughts of, oh, I am judging myself. I am overly critical with myself. I compare myself to other people. Wait a minute. I compare myself to the guy who seems to have the more attractive woman than I do. And here this woman loves me fully, to discover, oh, because I didn't love myself, I didn't allow her to love me fully. Therefore, it was not enough. And in time, as I continue to turn all these questions inward, such as, is this true? And that answer for that is typically no. Then a second question might be, how do I act or be when I have these thoughts? I get anxious. I act awkward around women. I act insecure. Then the third question would be, who would I be if I didn't have these thoughts? I would be confident. I wouldn't care so much. I would get on with my life. And then the fourth one would be, what actions could I take to be that better version? Meaning that person who is confident and not comparing themselves to others. So for me, at least in my coaching, it's both an inward, meaning you go in to ask those questions of why you really feel this way. And it's always self-doubt. It's always judgment towards ourselves. It's always comparing ourselves to others. Then it's moving forward in action to test your new consciousness, to test your new behaviors. And if you have done some healing within, you'll start having different experiences. It always happens. It might not be overnight, but that's not typically what is supposed to happen. Consciousness is a gradual process. It never stops. We're basically forever unfolding consciousness. So even this moment, while I talk to you, Tobi, you're going to become a different man. You know what I mean? You're going to change. What I say to you is going to impact your heart and who you are. So those brain cells that gave you some identity of who you were before this call is going to shift. So not only is it a conscious thing, it's also your brain biology. It's going to rearrange a new perception of yourself and others. And the more we continue to do that, then we become that better version of ourselves. We continue to expand. Therefore, we also start to let go of the past till we even forget why I even felt depressed back then, because life is good right now.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I love that. That's beautiful. Yes, it's all boils down to our thoughts, and we acknowledging them and saying this is true, this is not true. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, but sometimes it could be easy to say, but sometimes I don't know. We let our guards down and we just allow the thoughts to flow, and then we just begin to, believe that every thought that flows through us is true. and we accept that basically. So I don't know, how do you work with your clients? Like, I would like to know what you do with your clients who have experienced a lot of trauma in the past, PTSD, or are still recovering from PTSD, and are still, trying to heal basically from whatever they've experienced in the past. How do you work with them in terms of their thoughts, in terms of becoming better beings, also for in their relationships?
So the first thing would be is that I have to be in a state of consciousness as the coach before I even start to work with someone. And what I mean is, as an example, listeners or viewers, when Tobi and I got on this call, I have never met him before. The first thing I noticed is his smile. I noticed his energy and I started to smile too. It's contagious. It's contagious. You know what I mean? So it lit me up also. So if I want to guide any client out of their dark perceived cave, well, I have to be out of my cave. Okay. So it's really, the first step is recognizing that life is beautiful, that I know a clear path. It might not be my client's path, but I'm hopeful. Just that a resonance of know when clients reach out to me gives them some hope, and they might not be aware of it. It might be moving through their psyche, the night before when they're sleeping and dreaming. Okay. So that's one thing. But when clients come to me, they'll typically come to me to discuss really, like, I would say, kind of the common basic human needs or desires, such as I want to be with a woman or man. I want to make more money. I want to improve my health. I want to create a deeper connection to God. I want to heal from my divorce. I want to build my confidence up. So those could be common things. But with every client, that potential is in there already. And what I mean by that, if you're really that depressed person, if you're really that insecure person, you would actually just be in it and you would not have any reference point that you could be better. Therefore, you wouldn't be reaching out to me in the first place. There's some part of you saying before you call me or start going on YouTube to figure out, if other people have the same issue as well, is that there's a part of you is saying that life could be better. I could be better. This is not the norm. It could be better. Right. Yeah. And so that's a knowingness I know. And I also write about that in the book. I'm very clear about that. And so imagine when I'm communicating with a client, there's a part of me that's always connected to that better version of themselves, no matter what. I'm always connected to that while they talk about their pain story, while they talk about what had happened. And while I understand that this is what has influenced them, that is still a story. So as an example, they might have unhealed trauma. Therefore, it wasn't integrated. So they had a perception of themselves that's dirty, that it was their fault. Just say if they were raped or something. If they lack confidence, they may have built a false understanding of what true confidence is, such as they have tried to achieve the trophies and the good grades to get some type of respect when they're actually guarded and people don't feel like they're relatable. You know what I mean? And so when I get a client who talks about their trauma, their childhood, and so forth, I will always ask, how did you actually think about that? What were you really feeling? And what thoughts did you have about yourself when that happened? And always it's negative thoughts in that criticism that I brought up. We can go right there in the first session. It's, I'm a piece of shit. No one likes me. I was made fun of because I was overweight, but the question I asked this very moment would be, but look at you now. Is that true now? And they'll say, no. I said, so if you know that's not true now, what would create the belief that you're still not worthy? And hopefully they connect to the story, which I help guide them, is that, oh, I base my worthiness on my looks. What the hell?
Yeah.
So just that aha moment, it's going to create a shift. Like, this is not even true. This is not even true. I'll give you a couple false beliefs that people have. Um, I have friends in their 40s who don't feel like a man because they don't own a home yet. What the hell? I know women who say that they've been shortchanged or that life will never get good because they never had a child. There's some beliefs out there too. Even they're like, I've heard people say, and it's not as often because we're living longer and we have maybe more resources. But if there's a lot of women out there still who are in their 60s and single, and they're saying, I'm going to die alone. Like, so those are beliefs that are not true. But if you believe that, like you actually believe it, you will create that every day.
That's true.
Every day. And you will feel stuck. It's not because it's true, because you continue to perpetuate that negative belief that keeps you trapped. You basically are creating your own prison within your own psychology, your own psyche.
Yeah. Wow. Dr. Ray, that's so deep. I mean, what you started out with, made me remember a conversation I had with a guest on this show a while back. You talked about, someone reaching out to you or maybe just searching for it online. That person already has that belief inside of yourself that there's a healing, there's a way
Yeah.
out of the situation. Yeah. And that made me remember, this guy on his show was telling me about the sun is always shining. And talking of this time of the year where everything is gloomy here in Germany, in Europe, for example, it's like autumn, it's raining all the time, it's cloudy. But he said, no matter how much cloud you have in the sky, the sun is always shining. And that made me just remember, connecting it with what you said, like you have to like search for that part, that place where you could sweep away all the clouds. And maybe that's someone like you that comes into play to help us pack away all the clouds so that we could see the sun and connect back with the sun. The sun being our healing, our source of joy again, our source of, coming out of the, you know, I don't know, the mess that we are in, and the cloud being, the comparison that we've dealt ourselves with that's made us lose our joy and peace of mind, basically.
Yeah. Children are such great masters for us to connect back to our own innocence and joy, or dogs as well, because typically they wake up happy. Typically they are curious about life and what's going to happen or when they're going to get that treat to eat.
Yeah.
So when we get older, again, and because we're in a culture where we're bombarded with information, social media, and consumerism as far as what it takes to be loved and worthy, then in time, that's when we start to doubt ourselves. Otherwise, I'll give you an example. I remember being a boy and not even having any awareness that my parents were blue collar and the car that they owned wasn't like super expensive. I wasn't like looking at other cars and going, wow, that Corvette is more expensive, so that person must be better than my dad. I just saw, every car the same. It's interesting. I never saw the difference. And then I remember getting older and I was playing soccer and I got picked up by one of the dads who had a son on a team, and his car had electric windows. We had the old roll-up windows.
Oh yeah, I know those.
But I didn't see it as, God, my dad must be broke and I'm a poor child. I just thought, this is neat. Why don't we have these? They're easier. Okay. Mm-hmm. But in time, when I became a teenager and I saw the hot girl getting into the nice car in high school, I created the connection of like, oh, I need to do that. That's why she is with him. And sometimes that was attractive to some women, not a quality woman, but, and that's what starts to happen, but when we're younger, we're kind of more, we feel more equal. We're not comparing ourselves, we're kind of more naive, more innocent, and we're just more one with the universe.
Mm. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think the older we grow and the less innocent we become, the more
Gated. get.
joy that we get. Yeah, exactly. More joy that we get. Yeah, and the less joy we get to experience, the less pure joy we get to experience.
Yes.
I, from all the answers you've been giving me so far and the conversation we're having so far, I'm starting to ask myself, like, the title of a book is All It Takes Is One. So that one, I'm asking myself, is that me? Am I the one it takes? Am I the one it takes to bring back joy into my life, to bring back happiness into my relationship, to bring back, peace into my relationship? Is it that is that what you had in mind when you wrote the book? Is that there?
No, but that
Oh,
actually is true too. Like, for example, for me, I don't know how this is going to sound over, this call, but, I have one of my tuning forks, and this is for like spirit. And and I'm going to do it, if I just do this, I hear that sound, that's my permission slip. And when I hear that sound, I feel myself. I feel centered with who I really am for whatever reason. Like music, sound frequencies seem to bring me back to myself. And I'm using this as an analogy because I also use these tools as part of my healing. But it's only taken some, like, say, sound frequency to remind me who I am. We are vibrational beings. We are vibrational beings. And there's this resonance, say, with this tuning fork, okay? Well, same thing. When we discover that hidden belief that's holding us back, there's that aha moment. And I'll give you an example. And it's happening right now with my partner. And that is where sometimes we have power struggles. And that is when it comes to trust for her. Okay. And her dad was gay, and she didn't know that. And he died of AIDS. And it wasn't until her like mid-20s, she came home and he's already dying, and he had 3 months to live. And so she had this major betrayal towards men and the masculine. And so imagine how she developed relationships moving forward. And it was always with men she couldn't trust. As an example,
yeah.
unavailable men who bullshitted, like all the same story of her father. Okay. But when she discovered that she'd also had put her trust in her father to make her life better, or trust in, say, her partners to make her feel confident, she learned that she was giving away her power. And so her hidden belief was that my sense of self is invested in others, or I trust others to make my life better. When she discovered that, she turned it around and she recognized that she needed to say, I need to trust myself. I came here to learn how to trust myself no matter what. And just by that aha moment, shifted her psyche, her consciousness. Does that make sense? Of that one shift of that belief? And therefore, that changes conversations with me. It changes conversations with other men that she's engaging with, because it's not that she's looking for them, looking for them to mess up, or looking to trust the situation based off what they say, which is a codependent relationship. It's that she recognizes I can trust myself to create boundaries. I can trust myself to say no. I can trust myself to feel safe. And there's some good people here, and there's some maybe assholes. It's like, it's just life. But I can trust where I go in my life.
Mm. Oh yeah, that's very good. Yeah, I mean, better than my own imagination of what your book title could have come from. Yeah, yeah, but actually, it does take. I mean, it takes that one thing that we change, that we shift, to turn our lives all around, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
it. Yeah. So for people out there who are in a relationship right now, I mean, your book would be recommended for them to read. Or is it like a tip or advice you share with them to have a much more sustainable relationship, or have that sustainable or happier relationship based on what you've experienced and your, work with other people out there as a relationship coach?
If you're specifically talking about how my book could guide people to this type of awareness,
Mm.
Truly, the book is the nature of our consciousness, meaning I share in a simple way how we form perceptions. So the way I was able to articulate what I just shared right now was kind of an example. We have influencers outside of ourselves that will shape how we perceive people, places, and things.
Mm.
And so if you keep having a challenge in a particular area, then examine how you came to believe, or what was your relationship originally to, say, money. I'll give you an example with that. I did not have a good relationship to money when I was younger, even when I started to make a bunch of money. And so I claimed bankruptcy, like meaning that like I was spending too much. I couldn't pay my bills. It was because I didn't feel enough, but also my parents were far more frugal. So I had this idea that they're cheap but no, actually they knew how to manage their money. They actually had a good relationship to money. And I actually experienced that when my mom died first and then my father died, and he had a lot of money put aside to take care of himself while he was getting older. I mean, he managed it well. And so I didn't learn how to manage that myself. Therefore, I claimed bankruptcy. So I cleaned the slate, like debt free. 1 year later, $50,000 in debt again,
Oh.
because I didn't heal the emotional part to relationship.
Mm.
And so I went down a path to kind of see how I had the judgment towards my parents, to what does money really mean to me, to meaning I associated making money to get things that, like, buy the Mercedes so the woman would be with me. Like, it was more like money will give me a sense of purpose. Money will make people like me more. Money will make people respect me more. And when I healed that and knew that wasn't true, then money became more an extension of the service I offered the world.
Mm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the. I think there's still a part that is for me. I've not gotten a clear answer on, and that we've talked about a lot about healing, like healing, and letting go of those negative thoughts and mindsets. But what can I do? What can I do to actually heal? Like, are there like some steps? Like, sorry, I have a background in engineering. I'm an engineer by day, and I believe in having those practical tools or suggestions. Not. I mean, I don't believe in you must do this and do that to get this. But I believe that, yeah, there are some things that I could do to heal. Like, if I want to start my healing journey tomorrow, what's the first step I should take? Right.
Well, what is it that you feel you want to shift? Or if I were to wave a magic wand and life were to be beautiful and grand, and you were to manifest the life that you prefer or want, what would that
Mm.
look like? Share
Oh,
that.
okay, okay. We saw this a therapy session already. Oh my God, why did I do this? No, so I mean, for me, I would say off the top of my head right now, one thing I would love to change about myself, or not change about myself, just to work on, is maybe my confidence level. Like,
Mhm.
of course, sitting out here in the comfort of my studio, talking to you, I could come off as confident, but I think in real life I'm a bit more withdrawn, shy, and I don't maybe have that much confidence. I would say some people will not believe this, but I think that's the truth when I look deep within me. Yeah. So if you could, swipe your magic wand, I would love to be much more eye confident and be able to show up for who I truly am and not downsize myself, basically.
Okay. And if you were to show up as that version of yourself, what would happen? What would you be doing? Such as, uh, would you have the partner in your arms? Would you have a big home? Would you be traveling? Like, is there some idea that you think confidence and, not say being shy, would create in your life? What is that?
Oh yeah, I think more success basically, like maybe yeah, having a bigger business and having a bigger home, for example, more money. I would say traveling. I would say also like maybe taking some bigger risk, like starting a business of my own and not moving on this in the much more secure paths. For example, I guess that would be a picture I could paint in my head. Yeah.
Okay. And so would you agree that because you don't have those things, that you believe that it has to do with your confidence, or that if you had those things, it would make you more confident?
I believe because I'm much more withdrawn. That's why I don't have those things, basically.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But remember, if you're more withdrawn,
Mm.
there's a reason why you're doing that. Why
Mm.
would you just not lean in if you could talk about it? In other words, what is it that you are afraid to lean into? What conflict do you feel that can happen if you just put yourself out there? What would come up?
Oh yeah. I think based on a lot of therapy sessions I've been having with podcast guests, I've gotten to reflect on it myself. I'm like, oh, maybe I'm ailing from being a people pleaser. I'm avoiding conflicts, and I don't want to stir the water too much to cause any troubles. Yeah, and that's why I'm going on a safe path to, follow peace with all men, basically, and just, try to be the sunshine in the room, where sometimes I could be a thunder and I could strike and scatter everything to make sure that, I make my voice heard. But sometimes I silence myself so I could be the sunshine in the room.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm going to have you close your eyes for a moment.
Okay.
Just have fun with me, okay?
Yeah.
So as you close your eyes, just notice I am looking at you, but I'm going to close my eyes with you and just move the energy to your heart. And when I say the energy to your heart, just imagine there's a part of you that's able to kind of look down with that, where your heart organ is, and inhale and feel that space in your heart, feel a little better, to even have a thought of something, someone, or that one thing when you're doing that thing that makes you happy. Allow yourself to connect to it. It could be even playing soccer, or it could be a joke you heard from a friend that makes you laugh every time. Now just notice how easy it was for me to guide you to the space. So you have very little resistance with me to feel good. We did this in under 37 seconds as an example. So if you can lead yourself with absolutely nothing outside of you changing, if you can lead yourself by not getting the bigger house, then what does that truly say about your happiness? In other words, when you have the thought you don't have the house, it makes you unhappy. When you have the thought that you don't have the nicer car, it makes you unhappy. When you have the thought that you might have the imposter syndrome, such as you're not what people think you are, it might make you unhappy. When you have the thought that you could give in and not be assertive because you go to people-pleasing tendencies, you're unhappy. But when I have you pay attention to your heart in the love that's within, notice that there's no resistance, because it's where you're paying attention to. It's who you're paying attention to. And this kind of validates what I'm talking about. The reason why you have the belief you might not have the confidence is because you're comparing yourself. The reason why you're afraid to have people-pleasing tendencies, it is because you have the belief that you can't maybe lean into conflict, or if you do, you're afraid maybe people will not like you. So in other words, that in this very moment, you compare yourself to that which doesn't make you feel good. You feel that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you asked me, what could you do, after we get off this call? It's here. Stop having those thoughts. Stop comparing yourself.
Mm, mm,
And really, what I want you to do is get clear with the life you want to live, such as it is you're going to nice restaurants with a woman, to you're more confident in social settings. Now, what you'll do is write that out, meaning like write it out, like what that would look like. And then you look at who you'd have to be today, like what actions to start exercising that behavior. In other words, you might not have a date, but if you can go to a restaurant by yourself and smile anyway, enjoy your own company, then you're basically saying that I'm in a space to also bring in someone to join me. I'm open, she's open. So you want to practice that version now. because everything exists now in this very now moment. And so if you see this from the quantum physics perspective, you are starting to behave as that man you compare yourself to. And if you start to behave that way and it feels good, you will start to feel good. Can be connected to confidence. You'll be connected to be able to establish boundaries rather than people pleasing. And you'll move from shy to confidence. And you cannot become unshy by keep talking about being afraid of being shy or not practicing being confident. Does this make sense? So another example would be this. I met men who want to start talking to women and they feel awkward. So I have them practice approaching grandmas at the grocery store. Like, hi, how you doing?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter if it's a grandma who's 40, 50 years older than this man. It's that he's exercising, connecting, small talk. That's it. So you want to be in the action that you want to create.
Yeah.
And then the world builds things around that. It attracts things onto that new consciousness that you prefer.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm going to
You're
take that
welcome.
with me. Do not compare yourself to anyone and live in the moment, live in the now. Yeah. And have a clear vision of who you want to be, what you want to become, and have that written down and see what you can do towards becoming that.
Well, also what we did is we looked at the contrast, like meaning the negative stuff. When we look at what we don't want, what it does is create what we do want. And then when we create the map of what we do want, we see what are some of these things I can start doing now? What are some of these things we could do right now? Because here's the thing. All right. As an example, I have manifested the home. Okay. I have manifested the most beautiful garden. It's pretty gorgeous. Okay. But remember, this already had happened. And when I say had already happened, I created it, I manifested it, but it's not like every moment when I touch my garden, I'm like, oh my God, I'm excited. Or when I walk in my house, that I'm like, oh my God, I attracted this. You know, what has happened is that challenge is over. So what's now important is, am I present when I'm sitting in my home? What's important now is, do I appreciate the comfort of my home? You know, I have to remind myself sometimes because I too am always looking outside of myself. Am I literally smelling the roses when I walk past my garden? So I also have to continue to enjoy it. But also this, I want more. And when I say more, it doesn't mean a bigger home. It might be just something new, some new project, some new creation, because that's who we are. You know, we are creators and manifestors. And so no matter what, we never arrive to a materialistic space and go, I'm done. I'm just going to chill until I die.
That's true. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head at that moment, because you made me realize one thing that actually affects me a lot. I don't really compare myself to other people. I compare myself to the version of myself that I think I should be right now. And that sometimes, causes a lot of conflict, because I look at who I am today, where I am today, and what I expect myself to be already. And it's always like a big gap in between. And I'm like, okay, it's this wrong. Yeah, but I'm going to work on those points. I really appreciate speaking with you. I've learned so much from you personally, and I believe everyone out there has also learned so much from this conversation. It has been a huge blessing speaking with you, Ray. But
Likewise.
before I let you go, I would like to have a very quick fire round with you, if that's okay with you. Are you in for that? Very quick before we round up this session. So my first question is going to be, what is one thing people misunderstand about love?
That just because you have a good emotion in that one moment doesn't mean it's love. In other words, when we see the eyes of our newborn or even a puppy, there's this moment, what we might experience as cuteness, but also there's this part of us that opens up. And so a lot of times people will equate like love because they feel that towards a woman or a man, that there must be love. But it's that you're projecting onto this person something you want or something that excites you. And within your body, your consciousness is producing the neurochemicals and the endorphins for you to feel good. And that doesn't mean that's love.
Mm. Yeah, it's more than a feeling.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. What is the what is your most favorite relationship advice you've ever received so far?
My favorite relationship?
Relationship advice that you've ever received.
Oh, that I have. Well, I don't like when people say relationships take a lot of work. I'll tell you that. So, because that's not absolutely true. I would say this, it's that if you truly are in an authentic relationship, it means that you're constantly relating to grow together. You're relating. It's not like you arrive on a ship and that's it. And don't have to grow anymore. It's just a constant experience of relating. So you don't outgrow each other and that you're able to create a passionate and sustainable relationship.
I like the sound of that. I mean, growth is all about growing together and helping each
Yes.
other to improve. Yeah.
Yes.
Last question. What's your top book recommendation for soulful living?
Of course, my book, I'm going to be biased. All it takes is one. And I'm not saying this because it's my book. Yes, I am. No, I'm not. I would say this because it actually is a book plus workbook to strip away all these negative beliefs that we have about ourselves. It's to remove all the limited beliefs that we have. And right away in a book, I jump into it. You don't have to wait forever to hear stories about me. In fact, there's very little about me in there. It's more about clients I've worked with, what we did together, and the improvements they saw in their life. And so I would say my book. That's why I wrote it. So I can say that.
We'll place a link to your website in the show notes of this episode. And on your website, there's a page for books also. And I believe your book is also available on Amazon for people to get it.
Yes, I have a landing page I will give you. And then my new website, after I get off this call, the revealing of my new website is going to show up. So I'll see if it's there yet. But otherwise, I have active links that work to get the book. And you can also get it on Amazon. So
yeah. Wow, it has been so beautiful speaking with you. And for people out there, listeners out there who would like to work with you, maybe contact you and maybe ask more questions that we didn't cover in this conversation, what's the best way to do that?
Go to my website, which you'll have a link also, and that's www.raydoktor.com. And you'll see simple buttons to get to that says book free discovery call. So I always get on a call for 30 minutes with new clients, and that's the best way to reach out to me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ray. It has been a delight speaking with you, and I really appreciate this civil conversation I had with you, and you also taking your time to answer my own kind of personal question too. That was awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Hey there, podcast enthusiasts. Are you ready to add a little sparkle to your day? If you're loving the insightful conversations and captivating stories on Mirror Talk Podcast, here's a friendly nudge to hit that subscribe button. By subscribing, you'll never miss out on the empowering messages and thought-provoking discussions we bring to your ears. But wait, there's more. We're all about spreading positivity and inspiration, and you can be a part of it too. How? By sharing the love with your friends and family. Share this episode with your loved ones, and let's create a ripple effect of empowerment and growth together. And hey, if you've been enjoying what you hear, why not take a moment to leave us a glowing 5-star review? Your feedback fuels our passion to keep delivering content that resonates with you. So hit that subscribe button, share the love, and leave us a review. Let's keep the conversation going and spread the Mirror Talk magic far and wide. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, your support means the world to us.